Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kol niyeh b'dvarei. Okay, Chaver, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our guest. Thank you for joining us as well. As we jump back into Likutei Moharan, Torah Chof Aleph. B'siyata d'shmaya, our learning together should be a schus for Achinu Yoshvei Eretz Yisrael, and really the whole world at this point, which is at a very, very interesting place. And we continue to watch as things unfold, and we get closer and closer to the Geulah. And I believe very deeply, as you know, that our learning is not disconnected from everything that's going on in the world. It should be a schus. The Rebbe said that when his Torah is accepted by the world and people are learning his sefer, he can start listening out for Mashiach. He said that his sefer is a chaltzah de Geulah. It was the beginning of the redemption, and now we're getting closer and closer, and more people are learning his Torah. So this is part and parcel of that process. B'siyata d'shmaya. But first we focus on the individual level and how to be freed as particular individuals, and then slowly but surely the whole klal moves closer and closer to redemption. B'siyata d'shmaya. So we jump back into Torah Chof Aleph. We're on page Lamed. And the Rebbe is saying over here the following. The Rebbe was teaching us about Shefa Eloki, about the seichel that's called makif, that seichel that's surrounding, the surrounding light. Those ideas, those concepts that are just completely beyond us, like the idea the Rebbe told us yesterday about the paradox of Yediah and Bechira, of this that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows everything already, but on the other hand, we experience free choice in this paradox. And both of these ideas already having rootedness in our seichel, because we could understand both, right? We experience free choice, and that's our functioning reality, and at the same time we know that it must be true, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is all-knowing, right? That Hashem already knows the future, and there's nothing we're going to add on to Hashem's knowledge. Ki'ilu HaKadosh Baruch Hu was waiting for us to act, for Him to know what we do, because Hashem is infinite and beyond time and space. So both of these concepts are pnim, but the way that they interact is a steady makif, right? That goes from level to level to level to level. And it's the job of the tzaddikim to help us resolve these paradoxes, like we spoke yesterday, through the shared consciousness of Rotza v'Shoiv, like we learned in Torah Vav, knowing how to make use of these two elements in Avodah, and sometimes even at the very same time to be able to hold these two truths to produce a very unique kind of energy, where at the one hand, from the standpoint of Yediah, a person's already okay, which is the Baki B'Shoiv. On the other hand, from the side of Bechira, a person has infinitely more to do, and that's always the case, and that's the reality of Bechira, of Ratzai, right? And holding those two things at once. That's the job of the tzaddik, and that's the whole Likutei Moharan is trying to give us, the balanced synthesis of being able, each person, kol chad lefum madam b'shar belibe, every person in accordance with what they're able to grasp, to be able to hold these two truths at the same time. And the Rebbe told us that this is also bound up, meaning our processing of this reality depends upon the kindling of our menorah, which is the 7 openings on the face, which are correlated to the 7 days of Sukkot, which are referred to and correlated, also connected to the Sukkah, which is itself the energy of Ruach HaKodesh. That's the makif, right, that surrounds from above, the schach, that cannot be makabel tumah because it's an inyan of kedusha, and it's gedalim in haaretz because it results from a person's humility, which is the inyan of Chochmah, which is bittul, and that's gedalim, it grows min haaretz as a result of a person's humility. And we learned yesterday that this is also connected to the concept of a wedding. Because Kiddushin, which is what happens under the chuppah, is the aspect of the Shefa Kodesh, right? That's the inyan, also relating, of course, to the consciousness that we learned about in Torah Yetes and Torah Yetches of Lashon HaKodesh, right? Of the letters that are within everything, the consciousness with which the tzaddik approaches the world to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence here, which is itself the seichel, right, of being able to be attuned to a deeper reality while still being in this reality. That's the ultimate paradox, right? We spoke at length yesterday about the chalul hapanui, about the vacant space that's both vacant and full at the same time, right? And that also being the paradox of Yediyah and Bechira, of the tzimtzum. And so that's Lashon HaKodesh. This is Shefa Kodesh. That's Kiddushin, right? That's the marriage. That's the wedding ceremony that takes place. That if you really think about it in a deeper level, that is the marriage itself, which is Yichud Kudsha B'richu Shchinte, which is Makif and Pnim, right? Which the Isha is the aspect of the Shechina, the indwelling presence of godliness. That's our experience of Bechira, as the Shechina shows up in our own experience. And at the same time, it's the wedding between the Kala and the Chassan, that the Chassan is the Ar HaMakif, right? The Chassan is the light of Kudsha B'richu, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is Shefa Kodesh, which is Lashon HaKodesh, right? So that's Kiddushin. That's exactly what takes place. The bringing down of Kadosh, down, into that place of the Chal. And the marriage of the husband and wife, the Yichud Kudsha B'richu Shchinte, where does it take place? Underneath a chuppah. And that was referenced by the Gemara that tells us that La'asad Lavik called tzaddik v'tzaddik is nichve mechupasei shechavera. Each tzaddik is going to be burned, is going to be sort of jealous in a holy way of the chuppah of their friend. Mazeh chuppah. Why is the tzaddik having a chuppah? So he explained, because the tzaddikim are going to access their makifin, and it's not all going to be equal. And this is also going to be true collectively about the different nations of the world. They're all going to be on varying levels, as the Rebbe is going to explain in the following page. And the tzaddik explained that that's what it means, that la'asid lavai, the tzaddikim yoshvim. We said about the concept of yoshev b'shamayim yischak. I gave a whole shir later on in the day yesterday in Sichas right now. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is already, we went very deeply into that there. Hashem already sees the end of this whole process, everything that's unfolding minute to minute, but on the news, literally, hour by hour, everything is changing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu already sees the whole process. Yoshev b'shamayim yischak. Hashem is not, needing to go anywhere else. He's already settled into that reality of a tischak, that for us is liyom achar, and that we have to wait until the final day to see it. Hashem is already yoshev. He's already chilling. He's already sees the whole picture from the beginning, right? The whole thing, how it's going to unfold. Yoshev b'shamayim yischak, the one who sits in Shemayim, is already laughing. And so the tzaddikim are yoshvim. They will access and they will attain that aspect of yeshiva. Va'atresehem, and their crowns are b'reishehem, not are on their heads, but are integrated in their heads, because that means that their makif is transmitted and becomes pnim. And therefore they have the aspect of chuppah, and that's why after a wedding there are 7 nights of Sheva Brachas, beginning with the first night, which is at the wedding itself, which is the aspect of the 7 days of Sukkot, the Sukkah correlating to the inyan of chuppah, and these two things being connected. Let's take a look at Ayisavav now. We continue. This is the aspect of the inyan to spit when the chalitzah process takes place, when a person does not want to be miyabim, a person doesn't want to marry his brother's widow. Shenamar, as the pasuk says in Devarim, v'yarka bifanav, and he shall spit bifanav, she shall spit bifanav, in the presence of his face. Says the Rebbe, what's bifanav? Bifanav daika. It's specifically, it's not just, in front of him. Bifanav, like in his face. Why in his face? Because this woman is going to travel in this world without children. And the husband that died did not leave bracha achrav, did not leave children in his wake. To allow his seichel, as the Rebbe is going to explain, we're going to get there probably in a few years, we're going to get to Torah Zayin and Tinyana, and the Rebbe over there says every person needs to see to it that they leave something in this world, either children or students. But every person needs to leave over their seichel in the world in some form, that it shouldn't be that a person traveled in this world and then left no residual impact. We're here to make an impact. Leave children, leave students. And this person is leaving the world without having left seichel behind, because he had no children. And not only that, and the brother chose chalitzah as opposed to yibum. He didn't want to remarry or marry the widow, so that he should be able to bring children in the place of his brother. And he doesn't want to be miyabin. Therefore, the aspect of spitting as we're going to see in the next paragraph, needs to happen bifanav, because it impacts the panav. It's as a result of this that the person doesn't want to leave the seichel that's relating to the seichel hapanim, right, which is all the R of the face, which is all connected to the mayach, like we learned on the first day in His Beis. All the different capacities of the face, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, are related to the seichel. Ve'yiraka bifanav. He doesn't want to leave children in the world who are going to be able to rectify in the place of the husband that died, the initial husband, to leave children who themselves are going to be able to carry on the work of fixing up the ar hapanim. Therefore, v'yiraka, the spitting, is done bifanav daika. And here he says a fascinating thing that in the Mefarshim on Likutei Moharan it brings from a sefer called Zar HaChai. That's the only source for this. That's where Rebbe Nachman brings this from. He says, that in the spit that the woman spits at the time of chalitzah, sometimes if you look inside of the spit, not a very nice thing to think about, but if a person would do such a thing, sometimes you can see the face of the brother reflected in that. And it's dafka penei hameis daika. It's the face of the one who died, dafka, his face. Because this spitting is the aspect of shame. A person spits, it's like a way of, I think Chabad Chasidim say, right? Hey mishtachim lahevel v'rik. It's, and the spitting is a form of like something shameful. V'ikar abushu b'panim. And this correlates to the shame of the face, where a person feels embarrassed, their face starts to turn colors. The shame is in the face. And the roik is a response to that shame, and therefore in the spit you can sometimes see the face of the brother who died, because this is the expression of his face that's being shamed and embarrassed. And this is his brothers being shamed because there's nobody to carry on the mission, which is why all of us are here to rectify our faces, to rectify our seichel that's reflective in the capacities of the face, and therefore, as an expression of this, that instead of doing yibum, they chose to do chalitzah. She's spitting, which is something shameful, and in the bifanav, in the face, so to speak, right? Because it relates to the lack of being able to carry on the mission of the face in the presence, and in that spit, sometimes you can see the face of the brother who had died, the initial husband. And this is what we learned in last week's parsha at the end of Miriam saying Lashon Hara about Moshe Rabbeinu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Va'avia yarek b'faneha. If a person's father would spit right in her face, haliti kalim shivas yamim, she would be embarrassed for 7 days, and over here, all the more so, she should be for 14. Right? Meaning it's a kal v'chaimer, but Rashi brings, right? You can't learn daya lavim minadin lias kinadain, right? So it was still 7 days, but it should have been 14. But at the very least, she should become a mitzvah. She has to go outside the camp. Says the Rebbe. So look at this amazing pasuk now in context of everything we're learning. Shivas yamim daika, specifically 7 days. Hainu bechinas shivas anonim, which are the aspect of the 7 clouds, of the 7 days of Sukkot, of the 7 days of Sheva Brachos, of the 7 branches of the menorah, which are referred to in the very beginning of the parsha. So the Rebbe says the beginning of the parsha and the end of the parsha are reflecting one to the other. The beginning of the parsha starts by Alois es haneros, like we learned, right? Al mul pnei ha-menorah ti'ir shivas haneros, right? Where you have the 7 branches of the menorah, and then at the end of the parsha, you have literally the opposite expression of that, which is the 7 days of Miriam's tzaras, Shivas Yamim Daika. Because it's through those 7 days of Sukkot, those 7 days of Sheva Brachos, that the menorah is able to be kindled. Those are the 7 clouds, the 7 ushpizim, the 7 tzaddikim, the 7 faculties of the face. Because go back to the inyan of chalitzah, says the Rebbe, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about chalitzah. The spitting in this context is a reference to the spitting of chalitzah. Go back to it, because again, like we said about this person that doesn't want to allow for the husband to carry on his mission by bringing children into the world in his stead, so that they should rectify the aspect of the face. Al Kain, like we said, v'yaraka b'fanav, again, v'yaraka b'fanav. The spitting is done b'fanav, as it relates to his face. V'ayinu boishes panim, which, like we said, is an embarrassment. This is what the Gemara in Yevamos tells us, that even though midyaraisa yibum can only be done, the Yevamos niknes bebia, but according to their Rabbanan, they can do b'maimer, which in that sense is a reference to kedushin b'kesef. B'maimer, it says the Rebbe zeh hepech haboishes. When yibum is done, so then this rectifies the busha. And maimer is the opposite of boishes, which was the embarrassment of chalitzah, which is the spitting in the face. Bechinas kulay oimer kavod. Oimer is connected to kavod. Maimer is kavod. Hepech shel tikalim shivas yamim. The opposite of over here in this pasuk relating to Miriam, as a foil, so to speak, to the beginning of the parsha, which speaks about ba'aloisas haneros. When that doesn't happen, va'avia yarak b'faneh halatikalim shivas yamim. There's the opposite of yibum, which is chalitzah, which is the spitting, tikalim. It's not kulay omer kavod. It's not a respectable thing, right? That hayavam niknes b'maimer. Kulay omer kavod. It's not kavod. It's chalitzah, and it's spitting, and it's haleti kalim, and it's shivas yamim, which was the face, v'yiraka b'fanav, the pnei hames. So therefore, Miriam shepagme b'kvayd Moshe, Miriam, who was pagam in the kavod of Moshe Rabbeinu, ublemished in Moshe Rabbeinu's honor, shehu b'chinas shefa aliki, that Moshe Rabbeinu represents the rectified face. Moshe Rabbeinu represents the capacity to integrate makifin. He's the aspect of being able to teach the whole Klal Yisrael. Ata horeis aladas ki Hashem Elokim b'shamayim ima'al, the inyan of kuchabrichu, makiv chasin, vala aretz mitachas, the inyan of pnim, shchinte kala. Moshe Rabbeinu is the chasin, right? Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who is the sort of the aid kedushin, bringing together. He's the shadchan agadol, bringing together Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, kuchabrichu shchinte. B'yayim chasunas is a matan Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who makes that yichud happen. B'shamayim imal v'ala aretz mitachas. Moshe Rabbeinu represents the shefa eloki. B'chinas kikaran ar panav. We see Moshe Rabbeinu's face. What does it mean, his face? It means his menorah was lit. Moshe Rabbeinu had a lit menorah. Kikaran ar panav. What's his panav? The two ears, the two eyes, the two nostrils, and the mouth, the 7 branches of the menorah. So when it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, Karan ar panav, what it really means is that Moshe Rabbeinu's menorah was perpetually lit. His faculties were purified. So therefore, when Miriam says Lashon Hara about Moshe Rabbeinu, upagma b'b'chinas shivas haneros, that means that she is blemishing the 7 branches of the menorah. Ki hu haya anav. Because Moshe Rabbeinu was the anav that enables a person to be a chacham, like we said, as it relates to the schach, which is the aspect of shefa kodesh, sachacha beruach hakodesh. And it said, how do we learn about schach? That it has to be kodesh, because ve'ed yalim min haaretz. We see from there 2 things, like we learned, that it has to be from something that's not mekabel tuma. It has to be kodesh and Geulah min haaretz, right? Ve'ed yale min haaretz. Min haaretz is the aspect of Moshe, anav mi'oid mikol adam sha'al panei adama, right? Is as it relates to the adama. Moshe is the inyan of schach. You see over here, maybe more than any other Torah so far, the coalescence of so many different aspects of Torah coming together. It's mind-boggling. In 3 columns, you think about what we have: the menorah, sukkah, schach, chalitzah, yibum, kedushin, sheva brachas, Miriam, Moshe, all these different concepts. The whole Torah comes together. It's all one. So Miriam, that blemishes Moshe Rabbeinu's kavod, is pagma b'b'chinas shivas haneros ki hu haya anav, shafal v'savlon. Moshe Rabbeinu is a shafal and a savlon. He's a lowly person and a savlon and a patient person. Not a lowly person, meaning he's a humble spirited person. V'loichar apal b'ziyonai. and he doesn't get angry. So Moshe Rabbeinu davens Kel Narafan Allah, that instead of celebrating that Miriam is getting, punished, or having a consequence as a result of what she did, no, by Moshe Rabbeinu Kel Narafan Allah, he davens for her. So this itself shows us that Moshe Rabbeinu had all of the features were perfect. This is the aspect of chaitim. He had patience because the chaitim is the inyan of erech payim, which is the inyan of the af, that shows us that Moshe Rabbeinu knew how to remain very, very patient and not quick to anger. He went to Hashem and said, please have mercy on her. Uksiv Bey, and it also says about Moshe, now we're going to go through all the different facets of the face as it relates to Moshe's karan arpana, the lit branches of the menorah. Pe el pe adaber boy. Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu pe el pe, and really pe bit pe shchina medaberes beside groina shel Moshe. That means that Moshe had a rectified mouth. Sebechinas pe. Uksiv Bey, and it also says about Moshe Rabbeinu, utumunas Hashem yabit, he saw the tmuna of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Sebechinas einayim. That shows us that his eyes were rectified. Uksiv Bey, and it also says about Moshe Rabbeinu, b'chol beisi nemanhu, in all of my house, nemanhu, he is fortified, Sebechinas udnin, this is the aspect of ears, bechinas neman ruach mechase davar. Neman ruach, a person who is a faithful spirit, mechase davar, covers things over, hides things, kamuva b'zera kadosh. That's the aspect of hearing, which is related, like we learned in the previous Torah, to Yirah Shamayim, to Emunah. It relates to the ear. Davar ha-nemar bar, what was the lashon? Davar, nemar by the erasa. Yeah. Yeah, vayiricha v'yos Hashem. Tilasi achtam b'yer b'chinas tefila. 1 second. Ki adibur tala b'yer v'hu shemet, right? L'shmai b'kol devarai. V'yira talya b'udnin, as the Rebbe said over here. Yira shema in Torah Yud Tes. L'shmaya b'kol devarai. Right? That relates to the tzaddik who's able to hear the deeper reality of a HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence, which is emunah, which is yira. Hainu ara panim. So Moshe Rabbeinu is zeicha to this. B'shvil zeh, so because of all this, nitztara, because of this, Miriam has to get saras. Because what's saras? He quotes from the Zohar Kadosh in Parshas Tazria Mem Teslamed Beis, u'mitzayra dasgiru dinuhara ilah. Saras is the closing up of the gates of light above. What were the gates of light? Moshe Rabbeinu's face. All the openings of his face was Shar Hashem Tzadikim Yevayovay. Moshe Rabbeinu had the makifin bifnim. He was an elevated person. His features were all kadosh v'tar. So when Miriam blemishes that, Memela, she has to get saras because she's closing up, so to speak, these gates that are open to that realm of illumination. Hainu ara panam uksiv bei. Therefore, she needs to be tisager because it's an aspect of sigiru denahari ilah. Because really lashon hara is the opposite of lashon hakodesh, which is itself the consciousness of emunah, which is yichud kutchabrichu shchinde. So it's a direct result of what she did. Because instead of using Lashon HaKodesh or even Aramaic, right, or any dibur to be able to channel and allow Kudsha Barichu, the Makif, to manifest in the Pnim, for us to feel HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence in the Yichud of Kudsha Barichu Shchinte, instead we use our dibur for the opposite of that Lashon Hara, which sees the bad in others, like we learned in Torah Gimel, right, which is a disconnection from holy music, right, from the consciousness of Emunah. And as a result, she needs to be tisager mechutz lamachane. She needs to sit outside because she closed up the gates of light, and now she needs to be separated. How many days? 7 days. Why 7 days? Because she was paigim and Moshe. What's Moshe? Karan Arpanav. What's Karan Arpanav? 7 openings in the face that are purified. Memela, she blemished those 7 branches. She needs to be set aside for 7 days, and the mashal that's given by HaKadosh Baruch Hu for her needing to go outside the camp for 7 days with saras is va'avia yorag yorak befana halati kolim shivas yamim, which the Rebbe sees as a reference to chalitzah, which itself is the response to this, that the person doesn't want to do yibum, right? And therefore v'yiraka befanav, and therefore in the roik you see the pnei hameis, because he doesn't want that that this person should be able to carry on the mission of fixing up the R upon him even after he left the world, which is the purpose for which all of us are here. What's that? How is Moshe?
You speak Lashon Hara, you killed a person.
Wow. We're going to see in a slightly different way that actually she dies because saras, a person has saras as if she's dead.
She was also the shotgun for the father, who's the one who was Yorah. And as a result of that, Moshe was born. So it's the whole...
Right. Wow. Shh. So let's see the next paragraph. Yeah.
Also, I don't remember where I heard or read this. I think it was Likutei Moharan, correct me if I'm wrong. That it was an extra pagam at the Lashon Hara was with Aaron HaKohen, because he is the communicator of the tzaddik, of the aura of the tzaddik. It's his shacharis to be mamsha.
Netzach and Hoy. He's like the glow.
Yeah, and to conclude to Aaron, that's extra pagam, like a level. This is the one is mamshich, the aura of the tzaddik.
Wow.
I may have made that up, or I heard that.
That's probably in Likutei Moharan. That sounds very Likutei Moharan-esque.
And the Kohen has to be retired the Seraph, because he's chesed.
Right.
So you're speaking Lashon Hara to the person who actually...
That he's the one who's going to be fixing it up.
Yeah.
Right, and as a result of that, she gets saras, and Aaron is supposed to be the one who heals the saras, and she does that by speaking to Aaron. That's... Yeah, a lot to focus on here.
You have to leave the clouds. That might be another thing. I don't know if there's nothing into the clouds or not.
Which clouds?
The Nanya covered.
With Anania, the Anania, probably, yeah.
Fit nicely with the whole.
Right, that she goes outside of the clouds, legamri. Chutzlan. Does the Rebbe say that here? No, he says she was nifka. She was paigim in Ananim. But I that's interesting. Do we know? Did the Mitzvah go outside of the Anania covered? Yeah. The Chutz Hamachana. Okay, there you go. Yeah. Okay, v'zeh bikesh Aaron, and this is what Aaron says: Al nati kames. Let her not be like a dead person. Asher b'tzeitza mirechem ima v'ya'achal chatzi b'sari. That by already coming out of the womb of her mother, v'ya'achal chatzi b'sari, half of her is already missing. What's the secret over here? So the Rebbe says like this: Mamish, an amazing thing. Ki al yedei segiru denahari ilo b'bchinas meis. Because the whole inyan of Lashon HaKodesh, the whole thing of Shefa Kodesh, of Makif and Pnim, of Emunah, of Yichud Kudsha B'Chu Shchinte, is all life. That's what it means to be alive. That's what it means to live in a world that has meaning, that goes back to Torah Aleph, right? Yaakov Avinu lives in a world of illumination, right? And it's the Bechina and the inyan of Chochmah Adam Ta'ir Panav, right? His whole world is lit up. The Bechina of Ches, Chius, right? Going back to Torah Aleph, which everything else is just an extension of. That's the inyan of Shefa Kodesh, Lashon Kodesh, living in a world Torah Tes, right? A prayerful world, a world of Emunah, a world of Eretz Yisrael, a world of Tes. Tes. Also Yud Tes. Tes, right? A world of Emunah, a world of Tefillah, a world of Eretz Yisrael, it's all connected. Yud Tes, also Lashon HaKodesh, all of it, right? So that's what it means to live in such a world. So the opposite of that, Miriam was paigim and Moshe Rabbeinu's face, and the tzaddiks are upon him. This is a bechina of meis. And that's why the Gemara in Nedarim says, Ki mitzayra chashav k'meis. The mitzayra is therefore, because Lashon Hara, which is the opposite of all of that, is living in a world of misa. Asher b'tzeisai mirechem imai. By coming out of the womb of his mother. Ze bechinas yibum. This is the aspect of yibum. Why is this the aspect of yibum? Because who is Aaron talking about over here? Who is Miriam to Aaron? His sister. Right? Miriam is Aaron's sister. But says the Rebbe, yibum turns one's wife, not sister, 1 second. Sha'al yedei hayibum itse, which is one's wife, becomes his mother. Because it says in the Zohar Kaddish and in the Ari and the Ar Chaim Kaddish and all the Svarim that if yibum is done, the child that's born is a gilgul of the original husband. The Pele Yaretz goes so far as to say that if yibum is ever done, we should inform the child that's born of all the negative character traits of the first husband, because he's the gilgul and he needs to fix them up, and we give him a head start. That's what it says in Pele Yaretz. Because it's a gilgul. So it turns out that the woman that was previously his wife now becomes his mother. Explosion. Now becomes his mother, right? Because now the woman that was his wife is now his mommy. Sha'al yedei hayibum itse ime. As a result of yibum, his wife becomes his mother. She'ishtay nasis le'eim. Because now he's nisgalgal into the baby of the yavam and his ex-previous wife that now becomes his mother. So therefore, vaya'achal chatzi b'sari. Therefore, what Aaron is making reference to is yibum. That even though al nati kames, even though she's a mitzayra as a result of this, that she was poigim in Moshe, which is very similar to chalitzah, which is vayiraka b'fanav, because it's a blemish in the R Apanim, which was Karan Arpanav of Moshe Rabbeinu. Says Moshe Rabbeinu, al nati kames, let her not be a mitzoras. Let her not have mitzoras. Let there be here a bechina of yibum and not chalitzah, not via yorak bifaneha, which is Rebbe Nachman took as a reference to chalitzah. Let there be yibum. What's yibum, says the Rebbe? Asher b'tseise mirechem ima v'ya'achal chatzi b'sarai. That when he, which is a reference to the original husband, emerges now from the womb of his mother, which used to be his wife, that will cause v'ya'achal chatzi b'sarai. Says the Rebbe, this child will not have a bazug. Because husband and wife are two halves of one body. But now the other part of his body is his mommy, it's his mother. So he doesn't have a bazug. Because he had a bazug, that was his wife, but now she became his mother. So here, you have to understand this. Here Aaron is making reference to yibum. By saying al nati kames, let her not have an experience of chalitzah, which was previously va'avia yarek b'fanah litikalim shivas yamim, which is tzaras as a result of a pigam in the 7 branches of the menorah, which is Moshe Rabbeinu's face, kikar and arpanav. Let her rather be in the aspect of yibum, which is referred to in Asher b'tseise mirechem imai, that when this baby emerges from the womb as a result of yibum, vaya'achal chatzi b'sarai, half of his flesh, which is his mate, is ya'achal. He doesn't have her, because that's his mother, that used to be his wife. Nimtza shenechal chatzi b'sarai ve'ein lebazug, and he doesn't have a shidduch now. Perish, or Nassan explains, Ki misha meis b'lei banim, a person who dies chas v'shalom without children, as a ishta tzrich le'siyabim. Then the wife becomes eligible, with other conditions as well, to yibum. Va'idei yibum nisgalgal hameis ba'aben. And in yibum, the person who had died, the husband, is nisgalgal, reincarnates into the child of the that's produced through hanoilin me'ishta shenisyabna la'achiv. As a result of the yibum, that this woman now married her husband's brother. As is brought in the Zohar Kaddish, Itzei ime, his wife becomes his mother. And it's very painful when this happens. As a result of his wife now becoming the mother, it's it's an oynesh for a person. Now he's born. Some people anyway, their wives treat them like their mother. Over here, their wife actually becomes his mother, right? So it's a big punishment. Over here, his wife is his mother.
She's got plenty of mussar for him.
Yeah, right, exactly, because she knows. And now, exactly, it's like a double whammy, right? Now his wife becomes his mother. Ben hayavama hazeh shenoiled ma'yibum. So the child that's born as a result of yibum, only with big rachamim and my Kadosh Baruch Hu moving things around in the Olam Hasayanim could we procure for this person a new zivug, because the first zivug is not available anymore because that's his mother.
Rachamim.
Why do you want to?
What's that?
Why do you want the yibum? What's the whole thing of yibum?
It doesn't sound positive vis-a-vis the yibum.
No, because the opposite is much worse. The opposite is that he doesn't have any tikkun in this world at all. This is the tikkun. The tikkun is, meaning as a result of whatever it was that caused him to die early, he can fix this back up by being nisyabim, coming back into this world to be nisgalgal. All right. Other than that, it's kafakela. He has no tikkun. He has no.
So it's a good thing to do yibum then for the.
It is. It is a very good thing to do yibum. But over here,
and it's like revealing his, as you said, like this tikkun. It's like mamish the good from the bad. Like you died. No, you don't understand that mamish, that dafka can bring you tikkun.
Bidyuk. And because he lived and everyone around is still alive, they're able, like the Peliyite says, it's a Peli. You have to see it inside. It's literally a Peliyite. It's like a wondrous piece of advice from the sefer. He says, and I think it's under yibum and Eis Yud, he says, be sure if you ever find someone who's the product of yibum, let them know what a terrible guy their father was so that they know what to work on. That's what he says.
I'm going to have to say yibum. He's got chorus, that's why he's doing it.
And not necessarily chorus.
Dying young and childless.
That I don't know. I don't know. But it's not necessarily, it's not a good thing. It's not seen as a good thing, but it's an extraordinary mitzvah, right? Which is, by the way, also, without getting too deeply into this, but the Gemara in Saita tells us that it's actually one of the tikkunim for Cheta Egel. Because without Cheta Egel, Klal Yisrael would have lived forever, and we would have lacked the mitzvah of yibum. Yibum, the Gemara says, yibum wouldn't have been possible unless it says we should say Yasher Koyach tar to the Dar HaMidbar that they did the Cheta Egel, because as a result of that we have a mitzvah of yibum because people die, etc. And so any time that we do yibum, that's part and parcel of the tikkun for Cheta Egel. That it's a result of the Cheta Egel that we have this mitzvah.
Right? It invokes the Rachman Gedolim. That's what you need.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yes. Right? So there needs to be, the whole thing is a result of rachamim. When there's a rachamim, then you can find the ben zug. And he explains, Kizeb ben hayavama, again, this child that's born from yibum, shebe emes, hu bala shal hayavama, that he is the original husband of the Yavama, v'ishtay nasis le'em, and the mother now became, his original wife now became his mother. Ein le bas zug, again, he's going to have a hard time finding a shidduch me'achar sheben zugay nasis le'em, because his wife became the mother. V'zeu shepirish Rabbeinu Zal. This is what Rebbe Nachman is explaining, and Rebbe Nassan's just explaining here. Shebikesh Aaron al Miriam, that Aaron was davening on behalf of Miriam, shepagma b'seichel apanim, that she had been poigim in the seichel apanim, which is the bechina of chalitzah. Shezeo begam shalameis b'loy banim keniska la'el. This itself is an extension of the begam of somebody who dies without children because he's not able to leave anyone in this world to carry on his tikkun. Shaloi te'enes shenas chas v'shalom, that she shouldn't be punished, ba'enes hayibum, that she shouldn't be punished in this way. She shouldn't be like someone who dies without children. That now he needs to come down, or she would need to come down in a sense, which complicates matter because she's the woman here, right? But in concept, to come down a second time in a Geulah, and that as a result of that process, that produces the state of a person and the condition of a person who doesn't have a bazug, because half of his body has been eaten, meaning he doesn't have a zug. And this is the tikkun For Miriam, as a result of the pagam she was paigim, and the seichel apanim and the 7 branches of the menorah in Karan Arpanim of Moshe Rabbeinu, who represents the integration of makif and pnim, who represents the shadchan, so to speak, which is the tzaddik. Rebbe Nachman said the shadchan hagadol. Rebbe Nachman is the shadchan hagadol. The tzaddik is making the shidduch hagadol between Kodesh B'richu, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and Shchinte and Knesset Yisrael. So Moshe Rabbeinu, the tzaddik, all this goes to say basically that the tzaddik is the headquarters for the integration of makif and pnim, and his job is to teach us and give us eitzas as to how we can rectify our own menorah, right? Which is how we can kindle the 7 branches of our own faculties, our ears, our eyes, our nose, our mouth, to become tzaddikim, like Rebbe Nachman said, kamayni mamish, that we should reach that level, and as a result of that, we're able to truly live tzaddik be'emunasa yichya, that it's able to bring us to life. Ha-chochmah techaya espalel. That's the pasuk I was looking for earlier. Ha-chochmah techaya espalel, that the chochmah brings the person to life. Ba'aleha daika, the Baal, the husband, right, brings us to life, so that we can live in such a way of emunah be'emes. So here we carry on. The Rebbe says in Isaiah, says the Rebbe, sometimes yesh, it's possible sha'amoichin v'ashef aliki hu behelem bebechinas ibur. Sometimes our clarity and being able to perceive very deep spiritual things, it's there in us, but it's hidden in the aspect of ibur. It's like in pregnancy. It's hidden in development. Va'az, says the Rebbe, and then there's one thing you got to do. Yafat sa'akal adam. Then crying out can be very beneficial to a person. Sa'aka, a scream, bein betfila, bein betayr, whether a person's davening very loudly, which goes back like we learned in Torah, hey, right, where a person davens very loudly, that causes thunder, you remember, and that brings the rain, and that causes the mind to come down to the heart, but we have to clear the heart from Chochmah chalitzah. That was the whole process over there, and then it's able to develop and flow, and the garden is able to flourish. That was the Rebbe's process as he laid out in Torah Hey. But screaming out is an inyan of thunder. Says the Rebbe, when a person's moichin, when a person's not clear, and things are glossing over, and things are becoming very foggy and lack of clarity. This experience of a person's clarity being hidden in the aspect of pregnancy, where it hasn't been birthed yet, it can be an aspect of Tsur Yilad Chateshi. Sometimes the rock that Yilad Chateshi is weakened, is unable to give birth. Like the pasuk says in Yeshayahu, the woman, she needs to give birth, but she doesn't have strength. And so the Moichin want to burst forth into our prefrontal cortex. It wants to come into our executive functioning so that we should live on that level, but it's latent, right? It's hidden, it's in potentia. And it's not capable of bursting forth. It's like a woman who's pregnant, that the child is developing inside, but it's not able milelet, it's not able to exit and to come into this world. Ra'amas Shivin Kalin. The Zar Kadosh says, Zar Pinchas Avreish Mem Tesam Beis, that in such a situation the woman needs to scream out 70 cries. That whole mizmar has 70 words. And the Zohar Kadosh says that mizmar is David HaMelech, who himself is an aspect of the Shechina, the aspect of the Isha, right? David is the feminine sphere of Malchus, crying out 7 times for the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Malchus in the world. Im etin shnas la'enai, right? David HaMelech says, I won't put sleep to my eyes before I uncover, right, a place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to live in this world. David HaMelech wants that the Malchus should be revealed. Masai timlech b'tzion, right? The timlech, it shouldn't just be tzion, it's the aspect of Yesod, it's hidden. Masai timlech b'tzion, there should be the malchus, b'yemo Yashem, Hashem l'melech al kol ha'aretz, b'yemo Yashem ha'chodesh mech. David wants everything to be manifest. He doesn't just want it to be latent under the surface. He wants it to be brought to the surface. So David HaMelech is the one who cries out 70 times, Yancha Hashem. That mizmar, which we say every morning, has 70 words. And that's connected to ayin kalin, the 70 cries of an isha. That's koyach ayin leleid of ozmay ledet. And Zohar says when she cries out 70 times, then she gives birth. Says the Rebbe, Vashivin kalin mechina shiva koilish amar davar alamayim. These are the aspects of the 7 koilos, the calls that we say on Friday night, right? Kol Hashem alamayim, right? Etc. Hashem alamayim, Rabbim Kol Hashem, Akar Kol Hashem, Bahadar Kol Hashem, etc. Kol Hashem Shoiber Arazim. All those 7 koilos, Shekol Echad Kol Mi Eser, those are also connected because each of those 7, each one contains 10, and so in all it's 70. So when we do this in and of our own process, when we're coming to give birth, and our moichin is latent, and we're not really able to bring it mamish out into pile. I had the strangest dream last night. I didn't sleep much last night, but I had the strangest dream. Yeah, I don't know. I had a hard time sleeping, but
I didn't show me WhatsApp.
I didn't show him yet. Late night, I took inspiration from Donald J. Trump, So I was doing truth socials at 3:18, but MS socials. So one of my dreams, the strangest thing, I was driving down Brent Street from Golders Green heading in, and I couldn't quite, it was so difficult for me to drive. I have to be misguided on this a lot, but I'm sharing just a little bit of what I think it means for me, and I was finding it very difficult to drive, and I couldn't quite press the brake all the way, and I couldn't quite press the gas all the way, and I couldn't quite see the cars in front of me, so I couldn't gauge how much to press or how little to press in order to stop the car. And I was trying to drive, and I was being misbiting, like, why is it so difficult for me to drive? And I realized because I'm sitting in the back seat. I was sitting in the passenger seat, and I was trying to, with sitting on the seat, trying to reach the pedals and the steering wheel while sitting in the back. And I'm trying to be misbinding on this, and I'm thinking to myself, why are things so difficult for me? Because I'm sitting in the back seat. So what this means, I have to be misbinding for myself, and obviously it's very deep. What does it mean for me to shift into the front seat and then be able to press the gas like a mensch and the brake like a mensch and hold the steering wheel like a mensch? This is what it occurred to me. For some reason, I'm going through life, things are very hard. Because whatever this means, and again, I have to be misbinding what it actually means for me. I have to see. But for all of us, in some sense, like, we haven't been born yet. We're still we're doing the thing, but we're like barely, we're not, it's still a bechina of tzion, it's na'lam. What we want is, let's sit in the front seat, we could drive this car. We could operate things properly. We can't operate, we're hamstrung, we're limited, we're not, so we're trying to navigate, but like So when a person feels that way, says the Rebbe, you got to scream. When a person screams out and davening and learning, when they're feeling like they're driving, like I felt, it was the most bizarre experience, driving from the back seat of the car, and you feel like you're not quite there. So he says, the Rebbe, cry out. These cries are the aspect of the crying of the woman who needs to give birth and is ready to give birth, but she doesn't have strength, so scream. This that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's Yodea Ta'alumais, which is in Anabakayach, that the Rebbe learns over here, means Yodea Ta'alumais. He knows about the Ta'alumais. He knows that our moichin are hidden. That's what it means, Yodea Ta'alumais. He knows the hidden things. So he's who mazin tzakasenu, shmat tzakasenu yodea talumais. As a result of this, that our das is ne'elam, yodea is talumais, who shmat tzakasenu. So what do we want to do? Got to cry out. When we cry out, that leads to the birth that our yodea should not be talumai anymore, because shmat tzakasenu, because we cried out. V'atza'aku b'makayim tzakas hashchina. And our crying out in that moment is the Shechina crying out. It's the activation of the Seichel HaPnim, of the inyan of the Kala, of the inyan of the Shechinta. It's as if the Shechina is crying out. It needs the birth of Moichin, right? Because that's what it means. It's the Seichel is Makiv, and we want to bring it into the Pnim. Says the Rebbe, cry out and give birth. And when we give birth, then the Pnim will become even more integrated, and then we're going to get a new Makiv, and we're going to be able to serve Hashem with higher Moichin than we did before. Az meiledes, right? Ki ilu hashchina tze'ekas, va'az meiledes ha-moichin. And then the moichin are born. V'zeh b'chinas, this is the aspect of the Gemara that tells us hakol ma'ir kavana. When a person davens loudly, very important, really, really important. Lo'ubdil ma'isa, a person should try. You don't have to sing davening, but to say the words out loud, crucially important. And not only what it does for a person's own individual davening, what it does for the klal. When the whole kehillah is loud, it's like a whole different world. You feel we're in it together. Otherwise, it's like a graveyard, and shul is where prayer goes to die. Prayer is buried. Chas v'shalom. That's the only connection that prayer has to do with the shul. That's where it dies. Prayer should be alive. People should be alive when they're davening. It should be loud. It should be loud. So kol ma'ara hakavana. That means on a simple level. But the Rebbe says hainu moichin. When we cry out Ishmat Sakasenu, this leads to the birth of Moichin. Kol is Ma'ir the Kavana. Vezevachinas Tikalim Shivas Yamim. As a result of Miriam being poigim in the Ar HaPanim, which is the Ar HaMakif that becomes the Ar HaPanim, she's Tikalim Shivas Yamim. Why Shivas Yamim? Shivas Yamim Zevachinas Shiva Koile Shal David. Because these are the 70 koilos of Yad Hashem Yom Tzara, which are captured in the 7 koilos, which correlate to the 7 branches of the menorah, which are the vessel for the Ar HaMakif to manifest within that expression of the Ar HaPnim. If we want to get to the 7 branches of the menorah, which are the 7 days of Sukkot, which are the 7 days of Sheva Brachos, which are not the 7 days of Mitzorah, right? So then we have to awaken it through the 7 cries. Ushmat sakasenu, memela, that will lead to Yedea Talumais. Shivas Yamim Zebachina Shiva Koila Shal David Sheim Shivin Kolin, which are the 70 cries Shetzar Chalitzah Kedila Haitzi Ar Apanim Kana Hanal, that a person has to go and cry out that we want to rectify our face, we want it to come Mehelem El Agilui, that it should be born. V'Hagilui Zebachinas Leida, says the Rebbe, when something's revealed, it's a birth. V'Az Achar Leida, so after that Dam Nekar V'Naseh Chalav. The pasuk said, the Gemara tells us, right, that the blood nekar, it becomes congealed v'naseh chalav, and it turns into milk. V'zebachinas tikalim. This is the aspect of embarrassment. Ki aklima azal sumka v'asi chivra. That's what happens when a person's embarrassed. The red goes away and the white is produced, and we want that to kedusha. Right? Achar haleda dam nekar v'naseh chalav, which is the inyan of azal sumka v'asi chivra, and that's why tikalim shivas yamin, because if she does it properly and she uses those 7 days to cry out 70 times, then what that results in is the holy klima, right, of the din leaving dam nekar v'naseh chalav. Hainu dam nekar v'naseh chalav. V'zeh, with this we'll finish. Sur yilad chateshi. What was the words that the Rebbe used to talk about the state of a person who's stuck in this reality? Sur Yilad Chatashi, the woman who doesn't have the strength to give birth, is the Rashi Tevis of Tzakasenu, the Idea Talumais. If we want that we should get out of the experience of Sur Yilad Chatashi, where our moichin are latent, but they're in potential, but they haven't yet manifested, we need to enter in, it's the same Rashi Tevis, to Tzakasenu. We need to cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that will lead to Yedea Talumais, V'zeu Teshi, and that very word Teshi is itself Rashi Tevis, Tikalim Shivas Yamim. So here the Rebbe ties all of this together in the most unfathomable way. There's no words for this. There's no words for this. You should know, I may have been half asleep when I posted that at 3:18, but I meant every single word that I said, and I'll say it at 2:15 p.m. and at 10 a.m. and at every. I will eat it in a car. What it was, Sam, I am. I will eat it. Where I will say it whenever and with ever and however and whenever, because I believe that it's emes lamitai, and it sounds like the craziest thing in the world. It sounds super radical. What are you talking about? The Geulah depends on this achroin ha'achroinim, this niche, like small little tzaddik that a bunch of weirdos are following and like was never accepted by the mainstream. Yes, 1,000 million times yes. I believe that the secret of the Geulah depends on this individual and his Torah. And I believe that he revealed layers of the Torah that nobody else from the beginning of time to the end of time revealed. And I believe that the evidence is here. I believe the proof is in the pudding to anybody who's humble enough to look at it and to learn it and to spend time with it. Ein davar kazeh ba'olam lo. These are brand new giluyim, brand new revelations. And that we are among those who are the pioneers, just beginning to taste the light of the Geulah. And it's on all of us to help spread the word. It's on all of us to help bring other people in. And la'at, like I mentioned at the beginning, through all of our individual candles being lit up, both literally beprate pratas in our face, as well as each one of us, that we are all narrowly kim nishmas adam. Together we become a wildfire that Be'ezus Hashem will spread in a holy way to illuminate the whole world. Vayashem l'melech ha'kol ha'aretz b'yemuhi Hashem echad v'shmai echad b'siyata shmaya. We should hear Besuras Torahs today. These are huge days for Klal Yisrael. These are huge, cataclysmic, historic days. Hashem should help us. We should be present. We should be active participants, davening, learning, kedusha, shmiras hamitzvah, shmiras everything. This is it. These are these moments. We don't want to be caught chas v'shalom with dirt on our face on these incredible days. Ashreinu matayv chakenu. Ani haben v'ata ha'av shali shekol kach ohev oti ha'av shali melech chai v'kayam al kol neshima she'ani